What's up, guys? It's KB. Make sure you subscribe to the Underground Sports Philadelphia YouTube channel. Click the bell icon down below so you don't miss a single video from us. And thanks for tuning in to another video from Underground Sports Philadelphia. Now let's get into it.
Philadelphia, baby, you're gonna love it. Best sports fans in the world. Actually, the worst, but that's what makes them the best.
I hit record.
Well, Casey hit record anyway. So, Mark, we're doing it.
We're doing it. Let's go. We're doing it live.
Owen, the best thing is now you could have hit start recording and you didn't do it. So.
Well, it's not my job, Casey. You have always hit start recording. We're 94 episodes into the show, and you have always hit start recording.
And listen, Mark's been here for multiple, so he should be used to it.
Yeah,
let's just roll with it. I'm used to this. I'm good.
he's used to the chaos.
I don't have the exercise bike to get out from the backdrop.
That's right.
Like that.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
All right. Hello, everyone. As you can see, we have a very special episode for all of you guys. We have our dear friend, Mark Schofield, back joining us today. Thank you, Mark, for being here. As I said, this is episode number 94 of the Underground Circuit podcast. I know we are, five episodes away, I guess, now at this point, to 100 episodes, which is wild to me. The fact that we've been doing this for 100 episodes. Mark, this is also your first appearance on the new rebranded Underground Circuit. So welcome. This is like first time.
Thank you for having me. This is the first time on the Underground Circuit podcast.
Yeah.
I'm very excited. And I was trying to do the math in my head. So you guys will hit 100 right around preseason testing.
Mm-hmm.
Yes,
right?
We've looked at this before and we were like trying to figure it out with like random one-off breaks in here and there and everything. And it's going to time out pretty well.
No, yeah, because last year it was right before the season started as well. We hit 50.
Yeah.
And like last year it was 50 and like our 1 year birthday were like the same week. So
yeah.
This might be a little bit different. I have to go back and see, but yeah. This one, it feels weird that we've been doing this for 100 episodes, but people like it.
It's certainly weird. Especially since we were just talking the other day about we rewatched our first episode and that was a mess watching that. But that was a good time.
Yeah.
But like I said, thank you, Mark, for being here. We have a great episode for everybody. But before we do that, please make sure to go follow us over on our social medias. It is Instagram and Threads at underground_circuit. The name of the show is the way it is spelled as well. And then over on X, it is UG Circuit Pod. I really panicked saying that because Casey doesn't have at the bottom, so I really thought that I was going to fuck up the social media names. So we're starting off strong here. We're starting off good.
No, Twitter being different is something I need to get used to.
Yeah,
still, but
Twitter being different is something.
Twitter is different. I mean, that's just,
Twitter is different. You're right. Before we dive into anything, I'm only bringing this up now because I can see Mark's McLaren in the background, his Lego McLaren in the top right corner.
Oh, yeah.
I received this for Christmas, Mark, and I want to show it to you.
Ooh,
it was your other.
I have my fresh McLaren.
Very nice.
Yes, it's not.
How'd you get it out of the box?
This is the Lego case.
That's the Lego. That's the Lego.
Yeah, that's the Lego. I have.
Was there a box incident?
There was.
No,
I
there's
have
the boot. However you say it, the brand that starts with the B. I can't think of the name.
They're like the little like die-cast ones.
Yeah.
They put them in a little plastic container. I have both of mine at work.
Into the box.
Yeah. I brought both of mine to work because I just got this year. I got Lando Norris the silver chrome livery one. Yeah. So that was a lot of fun. But I wanted to show you that just to start
tremendous.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm going to go bankrupt in March. I have yet to tell my family, but when all those Legos drop, I'm going to spend so much money.
It's going to be really bad.
Yeah, it's going to be very bad.
Yeah.
Like,
at least.
Yeah. And it's not like the old days where like the old days, you could like literally run to the mailbox and like get the credit card bill and like intercept it. But now it's like, it's on your phone, you have the apps. So like, the spending limit's going to like be hit. Like I'm going to be in so much trouble coming.
So much trouble. I just found out too, I'm getting a bonus in March. And
I did
not put 2 and 2 together for when the Legos are coming out.
Legos getting a bonus in March. Is that what you mean?
Sorry, whatever you have to pay for the house, it's going to be
that might be happening.
No.
Andrew,
yeah.
Where's your helmet? At work?
No, my helmet is right up here. Actually, I can grab it for you. Here you go.
Oh, nice.
Casey got this for me.
Very cool.
I'll take it. I'll actually pop that off.
When
so
it
there's no
came,
glare.
I was like, wait, I kind of want to keep it for myself.
Yeah.
It's very cool.
Yeah, I got
I
a
love
mini
it.
George one down there, like the blue chrome one.
Oh,
Oh,
yeah, that's
nice.
nice.
Yeah, it was a nice one. It was a gift from my mom and dad, like 2 Christmases ago. I was like, I put it on my like wish list, like an F1 helmet, and immediately people wrote back like, "You mean the mini ones, right?" It's
You
like those things
want-
are
No,
not
legit.
cheap. Yeah,
You want the tiny one, correct?
the tiniest one you can find. That will be
You're like,
fine.
no. You're like, no, I want a race-worn helmet.
Yeah,
Signed by the
full
driver.
Can you
life
get me a
size helmet.
Lewis signed helmet? Like maybe from when he won at Silverstone. Like, get me that. That'd be great.
If I ever got one of the full-size helmets, I think I would try to find a way to do a full episode from inside the helmet.
I would wear it
Oh,
all
you
the
would've.
time.
Yeah.
Like I'd be at like church.
Oh,
wearing,
yeah.
wearing a helmet.
Absolutely.
I got to get mileage out of it. Like if I bought it for myself or if somebody bought, I'm gonna want that person to know that I did everything I could to get the mileage out of it, get every
Yes.
dollar's worth of value out of it. So yeah.
Absolutely. Anytime somebody comes over, it's the first thing you show them. It's like,
Yeah.
here's my helmet. Like,
You have it
Just
like
was-
in the foyer, right?
yeah,
Like,
exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you get your little like side table, you get the little bowl, you put your wallet, your keys, you change it, and then the helmet. Like right
The
there.
helmet.
Yeah.
Perfect. Perfect.
Yeah.
Full-blown helmet.
So good.
Funny.
All right. We should jump into, we're not going to do a meme of the week this week, but we are going to jump into, there's a quick piece of news. If Casey wants to go over that real fast, it relates to 24 hours of Daytona that just recently happened.
Which I was saying before Mark joined us, I could watch indoors in racing all the time because it's perfect like background noise. Like it was just, I just had it on. I think I might have watched almost the entire thing because I just had it on in the background. I was reading, I was doing something
great.
else.
Yeah.
I think I was in the kitchen at one point and I heard something happening and I like bolted out here and I was like, what did I miss? It's like I missed something. But yes, it was just, this literally just broke not that long ago,
See, this is what
4:15
happens
today.
when we record on a Wednesday and not a Tuesday.
I know, because
Yeah.
news always happens on
News
a
breaks.
Wednesday after we
Yeah.
watch. Tomorrow will be something big in F1, probably.
Of course.
Not Ferrari related, because it's only been Ferrari related the past few weeks.
Yeah.
But just came out that United Autosport has been declared as the LMP2 winner at Rolex 24 after a penalty to Tower Motorsports. As Owen said, it was before we started, so it's after a lengthy post-race inspection found that the skid block underneath the car had exceeded the maximum allowable wear of 5 milliliters. So for all the F1 fans, CODA 2023,
Yep.
you're all familiar with it.
Oh, yes.
That's when the teammate bond was born. I
Yep.
still say to this day,
It was trauma bonding.
Yeah.
it was trauma bonding.
That's,
Yeah.
yeah.
So that team was unfortunately Tower Motorsports was demoted to 12th and last. And now United Autosports has won, which, funny enough, Zach Brown is one of the higher ups co-owner for there. So Mr. Zach Brown has another win under his belt after starting the year strong, Zach Brown.
Oh, yeah.
Pretty solid couple of months for Mr. Brown.
Mm-hmm.
Start the McLaren Zach Brown biased allegations now with the FIA. Get those running. I don't support them, but get them running.
Yeah. Oh, they're coming. They're
Yeah.
absolutely.
They're absolutely coming.
Oh, well, there was other weekly news today. I can bring it up.
Is this about
Speaking
Lewis
of the
Hamilton's
FIA.
crash?
No,
Oh.
no.
That news
When
keeps-
I-
Season's over.
Season's
He crashed.
done. It's over.
It's gonna be a disaster.
Big news when Sky Sports doesn't geolock videos on Twitter, and they had Craig Slater standing outside in his tux at the Autosport Awards, giving a news report on Lewis Hamilton's crash in testing. I was like, people, it's not that deep.
But
No.
it's his second day of testing, Casey.
It's just-
his-
In the SF23,
It's just a disaster. Just cancel the entire season.
Scrap it. Ferrari's wasting money.
Yep.
Get rid of them.
No, Mark, your little tagline was perfect. You're like, quarterbacks throw
It
interceptions.
just reminds me so like look again, this is where like the NFL writer / F1 writer, like they merged together so well. Because I remember a couple of summers ago, there was a young quarterback that during training camp, it was going to be his first full year as a starter, threw interception after interception after interception. Now like training camp passing stat numbers like drive me crazy to begin with, but people were saying, look, this guy's not going to do it. Like they can't start. He's not ready. That quarterback's about to play in his 3rd straight Super Bowl. It was Patrick Mahomes. Like, this is what you do in practice, whether it's NFL training camp or preseason testing. You can't push the limits if you don't know where they are. And whether it's like a route concept or a turn or whatever, like you have to make some mistakes, and you make them now. If we were talking about like, okay, it's his first quali run and it's his first lap and he puts it in the barrier, like, okay, then we can sort of like start to freak out a little bit.
Yeah, you'd be nervous.
It's not even February, all right? Like it's his second full day, and like Casey said, the SF23.
Yeah.
Like,
The worst car of them all.
Calm down. Yeah, let's calm down. And if there's somebody that's probably earned a little bit of like, yeah, they'll figure it out slack, Lewis Hamilton's at the top of that.
Yeah.
List. So like,
I would think so.
I'm not gonna freak out about this.
Yeah.
Like,
well, and then there was that
happens.
stat someone posted that he like crashed in his first preseason testing with McLaren, did the same thing with Mercedes. So like, let the man get it out of his system.
He's getting the routine. You know?
He's back in a rhythm. He's back in the
Yeah.
rhythm now. Like, you know, did it work out for him at Mercedes? Did it work out for him at McLaren that year that he crashed in preseason testing? I think it did. So I'm not going to freak out about this. Like,
I don't think he's worried.
I woke up, you know, I do what we all do. Reach over the nightstand, grab the phone, and my phone's like my threads, everything's blown up. Lewis Hamilton crashed. I'm like, all right, so this is going to be what we're doing today.
This is what we're going to be doing today.
And I thought, you know, I could lean into it. I'm like, no, we all need to calm down about this. So,
yeah.
It was
anyway,
honestly
there was actual news, right?
Yeah, I would say
it's not the Lewis Hamilton stuff.
The FIA was probably happy that the Lewis Hamilton crash overshadowed. Maybe they were the reason why Sky Sports did a breaking news segment.
There you go.
Yeah,
could be the case.
Yeah.
I just had it open and I clicked away. But this morning. I saw this first thing. Johnny Herbert is no longer fulfilling the position of F1 driver steward for the FIA. FIA posted Johnny is widely respected and brought invaluable experience and expertise to his role. However, after discussions, it was mutually agreed that his duties as an FIA steward and that as of a media pundit were incompatible. We thank him for his service and wish him well. But yeah, that one's pretty big.
Thanks for a job done. That was it.
It's not even like
like, thanks for doing it, but you ran your mouth too much, so we gotta let you go.
We're moving on.
Yeah, just a little bit.
It's weird because, like, Hal said this on Threads too. Like, I appreciate the fact that, like, he gave some insight onto decisions that were made. Like, you know, I was looking back at some of his comments, like after Austria, after Australia, for example, when he's part of that panel that gave the big penalty to Alonso. Like, he shared some insight. I think what may have done this a lot of the times, and I would get these emails too, they would come in from like a betting house where it's like, we've got, you know, FIA steward Johnny Herbert, who's got some quotes that we'd like you to use if you're going to write about this. And, you know, I think it was BBC or Sky Sports or somebody like made note of that. Like, some of the comments that he made after Austria, they came from a website called Coin Purse. And I think we're in this wild west era now, especially here in the States, of the gambling aspect to sports, right? And, you know, I see it a lot in the NFL side with PR pitches, but they're backed by FanDuel or DraftKings or whomever.
Right.
And when you start to, you know, commingle the two, a race steward with back ends of betting, like, that's dangerous, you know?
Yeah.
And for everything the FIA is trying to do right now to try to remove, you know, doubt, gray areas, things like that. Like, this is one that I certainly understand. Now, there's some other stuff they've done recently that I don't understand, and I know we're going to get to that. But this way, you've got that dangerous mix of a race steward for 6, 7, 8 races, who's also giving out quotes on behalf of betting houses. Like, that's, you can see where people might start to wonder.
Yeah,
it's like, is he
agree.
then? Yeah. Making things sway on the inside and stuff to get those bets.
And even just the look of it, like, not even saying that he was doing anything like that at all, like 100% not saying that, but just the appearance of it, the potential appearance of it, probably got people worried.
Yeah,
I can't imagine what you're saying, the optics of it.
Yeah,
regardless of if he is or if he isn't doing anything on the back end that is bad, the optics of his name being tied to anything sort of gambling related is just like, all right, we're just gonna stay away from this, and it's absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, when you're talking about all the money that's involved, all the money that's at stake, like you can understand from that perspective. Now, maybe it really was just the fact that he was out, like they said, his duties as a pundit / being a race steward, they're not compatible at all.
Right.
But my gut tells me that was tie-ins with the betting industry that probably made some people a little nervous too.
I'm sure. Absolutely.
And it's hard because, again, we're seeing this. Again, it's newer for us here in the States. Obviously, it's been, legal and part of the industry for a while now in overseas. But you see it now in, the NFL world, MLB world, like the tie-ins between DraftKings, FanDuel, and all these companies. It gets hard. Like now you're seeing athletes tied in, like LeBron's doing FanDuel stuff. Like, it's a brave new world we're all sort of trying to navigate here, and there are things we got to figure out along the way.
Yeah.
Interesting. But yeah, I mean, that's a good tie-in. That was pretty much all the weekly news, I think, besides Lewis crashing.
And sending everybody ablaze. Yeah.
Right.
Kimi Antonelli got his driver's license.
He did get his driver's license.
That's great.
I'm
so old.
I felt so old writing that story yesterday because I saw it. I'm like, I gotta write this. Like, it's a nice, cute little story. I mean, Jensen failed his first driving test. Max almost failed his first one. So I thought, as I'm typing, I'm like, I'm a 48-year-old man, and I'm writing about a kid getting his driver's license. Like, is this real? What I should be doing?
What am I doing?
What am I doing? But it's a cute story, so I mean,
it's a feel-good story for the off season. But yeah, it is wild that they can drive however fast in an F1 car around Monza before they can drive a legal
Well, and that's
race
what's
car.
funny, like, and I read about it a little bit, like Jensen's not the only one that like failed their driving test because like you're so used to the muscle memory kicks in, and that's what Jensen said. Like, he got too close to a bunch of parked cars or something. And his racer's instinct kicked in, or Max, kind of went through a crosswalk where there are pedestrians, and the driver instructor was like, "Why did you go?" It's like, they weren't there yet, so I'm not going to sit here and wait for them. Like,
they weren't there yet.
Yeah,
that is the perfect. That's
the
totally
perfect
Max
story. Like,
that's a great.
There's a Max Verstappen story. That's it. So yeah, it was great that Kimi got his driver's license. Again, still ridiculous that he's going to be driving something different here in a couple of weeks, but yeah,
right. No, that made me feel old, and then not to go into football, but when I found out that Saquon Barkley is only turning 28, I was like, I thought he was closer to my age. Don't talk about me.
I thought he was at least like 32 is what I thought in my head.
See, when you start getting the coaches that are younger than you, like that's when it really hits. Like the players, like I've been there for a while. Like that's when you're getting like the Sean McVays of the world that are younger than you, or there was a recent offensive coordinator hired that's like 28. I'm just like, all right.
How old is Nick Sirianni?
He's younger.
He is 43 years old.
Yeah. Younger than me.
So he's young.
All right.
He's young kids.
Yeah, he does have young kids. But we're not here to talk football.
No, we're not.
Trying to segue in, Mark. Mark does have enough of this job. You alluded to a little bit of the decisions that the FIA has made recently that you don't necessarily agree with or don't understand. And this came out. Was this last week? This came out?
Yeah.
Yeah, after we recorded last week. Yeah.
So I'm gonna read the paragraph right from your article, Mark. Because it does a great job of explaining it. It's very good summarization. So essentially, in an updated Appendix B, drivers can now be penalized for any words, deeds, or writings that have caused moral injury or loss to the FIA, its bodies, its members, or its executive officers, and more generally on the interest of motorsport and on the values defended by the FIA. The penalty for a first offense is a fine of £10,000. Is that the symbol for pounds, Mark?
Euros.
Euros.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the penalty for the first offense is
like
a fine of 10,000 euros. The penalty for a second offense is a 20,000 euro fine plus a 1-month suspension, which will be suspended. And a third offense under the new article is a $30,000 euro fine, a 1-month suspension, and a deduction of championship points.
Yeah. And it's also important to remember, those are the base level fines. Okay.
Yeah.
For an F1 driver, they're multiplied by 4. And so for that third offense, it's not 30,000 euros. Let's do the math, kids, 120,000 euros for that third offense. That's your fine. And also the potential deduction of championship points. Now, I think where a lot of people, and I put myself in this category, I understand the desire to sort of standardize things, right? Because you had the Max Swear-It incident, and you had, Charles, like, had a swear-it then, and like disproportionate penalty, and they're trying to standardize it, right? That was their stated intent, which, okay, I understand that. The way it's written and the ways you could look at any sort of conduct ranging from joking during a press conference to physically assaulting a race, like there's a wide gap here of conduct that could potentially fall under this clause, under these sort of penalties, under these sorts of definitions of misconduct. And I think when you start to try to normalize things, but you have such a wide area where now it's like, okay, if I'm a race steward and Max says something like, oh, I don't agree with this penalty, and he's just giving it his opinion, you might say, oh, well, that's causing us moral harm as a race organization. And then suddenly you're like, that's your first offense. And it's, oh, by the way, we just got done in Australia. We've got 23 race weekends to go.
Yeah.
Like, I do not want to see, and I don't think anybody really wants to see it. I would assume the FIA is in this category as well. We're in, like, say, Austin next October. We've got another tight battle, and suddenly Max is sitting with 2 penalties already and gets in another scrap with Lando, and they're separated by 20 points in the standings. And now it's like, okay, you're suspended for a month. You missed the rest of the season. Like, nobody wants Max walk away from F1. There's your scenario. And so I hope in my heart that they're like, okay, this is what can happen. So we're going to hold these potential penalties over your heads. And like, we're not going to like ding you if you swear on the radio in a hot lap type of incident. We're not going to ding you if you slip up in a press conference like Leclerc did. But like, if you do something that's like over the top, like Yuki, for example, when he was, penalized for, the racial words that he used, and the ableist language that he used. Excuse me. He didn't understand it. He didn't know, and they deferred most of that and things like that. Like, I hope that they really sort of hold this in abeyance and really sort of keep their powder dry. And this is just, okay, we're trying to normalize it. We don't want to go down this road, but these are the penalties that are now available. Like, I really hope that's it, because if we get suspensions, deduction of championship points, if this impacts like actual stand-ins, people are going to rightly be livid.
Oh yeah, if it interferes with a championship battle at the end, people are going to be, viewers, teams, shareholders, they're going to be pissed.
Again, and it gets back to the previous discussion, which is we're talking about so much money that's involved. Like, difference between finishing first and the second in the constructors. Like, there's millions of dollars at stake. And if it comes down not to, success or failure on the track, but success or failure when it comes to the application of FIA instituted penalties, sponsors are going to be livid. Team principals are going to be livid. CEOs are going to be livid. Like, if you're Ferrari and you just paid Lewis Hamilton a bunch of money and suddenly you miss out on a title because Lewis, and that's the other thing, like, they open the door to like political statements and things like that. Like, and Lewis gets penalized because he's out there like promoting the idea of racing in South Africa, or a lot of the stuff that he does that the FIA could theoretically say violates, the non-political clauses in here. You're going to be livid. And I just really hope that they put this in and we never talk about it throughout the entire season.
Yeah, I hope it's like not like to say like it's just like the threat or whatever held over, like just so the drivers know, like it could get to this. I mean, I saw people, I guess, trying to make light of the situation. And someone's like, Max could line it up perfectly and have a suspension and have a leave when the baby's born.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Or
you
I
don't
mean,
wanna
I
see
had
that, yeah.
I had somebody comment under the article that like, Max is going to make 2003 look like child's play, because he's gonna be like, you know what? If I'm going to potentially lose a month, I'm going to have this thing locked up by like Silverstone. Like I'm going to win every single race just in case. Like, and just the fact that we're having to think about that potential scenario. This is not what the FIA wants. And, obviously there's like bigger picture ideas of like, bodies on high and, senior figures on high, like sort of coming down from the mountaintop to say, this is how it's supposed to be. And this is what we want to see. And we want you guys to be quiet and drive. This is an emotional sport where they put it all on the line and they put it to the limit and beyond. Like they're going to say things in the heat of the moment. That's part of the reason why we like this sport, is because the race gets over and I'm standing in front of Lando in the pen in Austin, and you can see in his face, like coming to the realization of what it takes to beat Max and the emotion of that moment, the heat of that moment. Like we want them to be able to speak freely and to speak their mind and to tell us what they're thinking and not give us this watered down version of it because they're afraid of a penalty application, a championship deduction, or a suspension. Like we want to hear from them. Let them speak freely.
Yeah. I can't imagine any driver in the heat of the moment, like just understanding like the emotions that they go through and putting their life on the line and everything, like thinking in that moment of like, oh, I better not like curse because I might get a penalty. And like
in Austin before race weekend, on media day, George was asked about it a lot because obviously this was after, and as the director of the Grand Prix Drivers Association, he said like, look, like I think there's a way to let us act like adults. And that was ultimately what they asked for. Like, if we're doing a hot lap, or like what happened to him in Australia, where suddenly he's flipped and he's screaming for a red flag, like don't penalize us for like heat of the moment stuff. It's different if we're like, in a press conference and we go on like an unhinged rant or something like that. Like, sure. That's a moment where we should probably like show a little bit more decorum, show a bit more respect. And I think he was basically implying that like what Max was penalized for was pretty over the top because he was like one word, like what are we doing? And a slip of the tongue or just a one word and in the heat of the moment kind of thing like that, they should not be penalized for. And so I hope that they take that to heart. And that we're not seeing drivers penalized for stuff on the radio. We're not seeing drivers penalized for things said in the media pen or right after a race when, your heart rate's still 180 and you're still trying to calm down like 10, 20 minutes after climbing out of the car. Like your emotions are still running high. Like Thursday media day or, something like that. Like, yeah, if you're over the top in that situation, maybe you think about it. But even then, like, we are all adults here for the most part. I'm not, but you guys are. I mean, we shouldn't go down.
Kimmy might not be, but I think everyone else is. We'll start to see drivers not talking in the post. We'll see Max where he just said nothing and then had a meeting outside.
And then had his impromptu outside in Singapore. Yeah.
Yeah.
But and that gets you into a very strange position because they have to do media. They're required to.
Oh, yeah.
And then are you going to then say there's another fine, right? Like, oh, you didn't do media? Okay. There's, 18 TV rights holders. You're supposed to talk to each one after a race or after qualifying. Each time you don't talk to each single one, that's another, penalty. Like you start racking those up. Like
it feels like a very slippery slope.
It's an extremely slippery slope.
Very,
You have the very kind of vague language in the rule itself. The what is morally hurt. Like how do you quantify that to the point where you said it earlier, Mark. Somebody has a slip of the tongue. It's one curse word, and then it's the FIA is like, whoa, like that. You really hurt us there. And it's like, well, no, I didn't. Like it was a slip of the tongue,
We're not talking about like chess here. I mean, we're talking about F1. We're talking about motorsport. Like emotions run high. Like, like, yeah.
It just, I don't know. like you said, there's like an ebb and flow to it, and there's different sides of it. Like you're saying, if it's media day and George Russell goes on, a 5-minute rant that he's yelling at the reporters, and this is effed up and this is screwed up, sure, absolutely. But yeah, if we're watching a Max and Lando battle again, like we saw in Austin or
I want to
Austria,
hear that.
I want to hear what the fuck
and they
is
should
this
be
guy doing?
We
Right.
shouldn't have a situation where a driver in the heat of the moment is focusing more on their words and what they can and cannot say
Exactly.
than driving the freaking car.
Driving the car.
Like, and
200 miles an hour. Yeah.
Yeah. And understand, like, I was extremely lucky. I was in Alpine's garage during quali and during some other stuff down in Austin. And, you get the headset on and I'm hearing all the information that's coming at them. Like, so-and-so is a second ahead, 2 seconds behind. And I'm standing there and I'm like, this is distracting, man. And I'm just standing here. I'm not trying to drive. If I'm trying to drive and I'm hearing all that, and suddenly somebody cuts me off and I'm like focusing more on what I can and cannot say, I'm going to end up in the wall.
Yep.
And that's mostly because I'm a bad driver. But, I don't want in that scenario where Max and Lando are battle and them focused more on their words and what they can and cannot say because they're worried about a potential penalty as a result of that. I want them focused on their driving so they can, A, get through the race and B, do a very good job of it.
Yeah. It's going to be interesting.
Yeah.
To say the least. I just
really
think about
hope
the other areas of the motorsport that are under the FIA. Because I know someone posted, they're like, if this, with the cursing and stuff, like Formula E drivers will have no drivers by the end of the season. Because I guess they might be 10 times worse. But then, I'm also thinking about the fines for, Formula 2, who, not all of them even finish the season because they run out of funding. Like, how are they supposed to pay a €10,000 fine? Like, that's wild.
Well, F2, F3, I really hope that, again, it's just, okay, this is what could happen. Hopefully we don't have to go to it. It's just there. It's in place. They've standardized it. These are the penalties that are potentially possible. Now let's never talk about it again.
Yeah, it feels like to me there's a little bit, as we discussed it more, the kind of the ridiculousness of it feels like it lends itself to that, where it's like, hey, this is what could potentially happen. We should never get here, but yes, this could happen. It feels like it's there for that, but just with some of the actions that the FIA has taken, just even last year.
Yeah, it's like one of those things where it's like, okay, given the track record here, I want to trust you, but I don't know.
Right. It's I'll believe it when the season's over and nobody
and we haven't even talked about it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, it's never come back up again. Yeah. Everyone's like, remember those rules they changed at the beginning of the regulations they changed at the beginning of the season? Yeah, hopefully that's it. And I'm sure that's not the last we've heard from the FAA this offseason. So
this week. I mean,
this week,
knocking on wood here. Yeah.
This week. Speaking of, actually, we'll go to the next one now. Let's talk IndyCar. I want to talk IndyCar because it's definitely my new favorite. I know you posted some good articles after their media week. Was it last week? Yeah, last week, week before.
Yeah. 2 weeks ago.
The week before. Yeah, because so many of them were in Daytona, so they definitely didn't do it the week of Daytona, which was great seeing so many IndyCars in Daytona, like seeing Scott McLaughlin, Colton Herta, all that stuff. Colton Herta had that moment. That's what I heard when I was in the kitchen. I came running out because I was like, no. I heard the name I knew, and I was like, oh, no. And I came running. I sent the text to Tasia, and I was like, don't look. But yes, the IndyCar season. It is such an exciting. We have the new team coming with Prima. They have a great driver lineup, I have to say. Also, I love their car. I was pissed a few weeks ago I didn't do that as my meme of the week with the car, the F1 car in cars, because it looks exactly the same with their livery.
The colors are very, very similar.
Very. I mean, they're an Italian team in IndyCar. They got to stick with that. I'm excited for the new, what's it called? The broadcast booth, I think. I mean, Will and James are great when they're on F1 TV together. They have such a good back and forth. It's going to translate so well over to F1 or to IndyCar. And then Jim just killing it with the commercials on Fox.
Yeah.
I mean, even in the bar the other night watching the Eagles game, I was like, oh, there's they played Joseph Newgarden's again, and then they
Yeah.
play the Alex Palou one.
Yeah.
And then I think the rumor is that it's supposed to be Pato O'Ward probably during the Super Bowl, which that's huge. Putting
That's
Pato during the Super Bowl, is massive.
And Pato talked about that, during his media session, which, I've been to these types of things like Big Ten media days and things like that, and you always can tell, who the key figures are when they start a morning, right? Because I remember being at Big Ten media days, and it was the first year that he was at Minnesota. Their coach, it's driving me nuts right now. PJ Fleck. He had just come over from Central Michigan, young guy, and they put him on at like 8 a.m. And so bleary-eyed sports reporters were sitting there in this conference room at some hotel in Chicago, and he comes in and it's like 300 milligrams of caffeine to the head, like just like that. And that was Pato. He kicked it off like at 9 a.m. And you could tell that like the Pato Ho thing is a thing of the past. They're clearly they have identified that, look, he's a worldwide figure.
Yeah.
Like, kick it off with him, and then having him as that third commercial during Super Bowl, I think, which is what we're all expecting, is huge. This is a massive year for IndyCar.
I feel like it's make or break, kind of, with viewership, maybe, or
I don't know if I'd say make or break, but kind of in that area, because look, Fox is going behind this, and they're going big.
Yeah.
Obviously getting Tom Brady in the first ad during the NFL playoffs,
huge,
and letting Tom Brady like make fun of himself, like that's big. Getting Will and James to come over from F1, even for just the first half of the F1 season, I think is big. And I will say, sort of, without giving too much away, there's interest from IndyCar at getting more and more and more coverage from bigger outlets down to smaller content creators. Like they want it all. And I think they've looked at the success of F1 and realized that a lot of it is the personalities. I think that's why you're seeing such a personality-driven ad campaign. It's not like, hey, these cars are fast. It's like, hey, here's Joseph Newgarden. Like, here's Alex Palou. Like, here's Pato O'Ward. Like, these are reasons why these guys are amazing to watch and what they're so good at. And, it's sports are driven by and large by personalities. Like, and particularly in this day and age where we were actually having this discussion at SB Nation just a couple of days ago, and we're working on a group piece about, it's not like when I grew up in the Boston area, that's what I watch, right? You get the Red Sox games, you get the Bruins game. Like now, it doesn't matter where you live, you can watch it all. And so people are more fans of personalities than teams sometimes. And so you want to get people excited about the personalities. And I think IndyCar so far and Fox so far, they've done a very good job of that. Now it's okay. Let's see what it looks like during races. Let's see what it looks like, in St. Petersburg when the season kicks off. I'm extremely excited about it. I'm extremely excited about what they've done so far. And I think they've got a really smart marketing campaign. Again, to Casey's point, like, I don't know if it's so much make or break, but I think, like, they're going to want to see a big return on this. Like, if the ratings are low, like, there's going to be some frustration. So they want to see some juice behind it. I think they'll get it.
Yeah, I think they're going to get it, especially with the commercials. And, like, I mean, I've seen them on normal Fox, like, throughout the season, like, throughout other TV shows. Anyway, I've seen the Newgarden one a few times. They've also, like, picked the perfect people for the commercials as well. Like, Newgarden is kind of, he looks like Captain America, but he's also maybe kind of the villain of IndyCar right now. And then obviously Alex Palou is insane. He's so talented, so young, has such a future ahead of him. And then you get Pato. Anyone that's going to look at that commercial has probably seen Pato in some form or fashion somewhere, especially if they just maybe even watch F1. But yeah, I mean, I could see the show too is also great. I know, like, Drive to Survive gets so much hate, but the 24 or 100 days to the 500 is the 100 to Indy is such a
it's really
so
well done. It's different because it's, time chronologically in order. It's not like chopped up. Like, we all know what this next season of Drive to Survive is going to look like. You're going to get like 3 Max and Lando things. You're going to get a Lewis thing. Like, we know what it's going to look like. You're getting an Alpine revival one, a Haas revival one. This is just in order. It like builds to it. And people that like the Drive to Survive format may not like the 100 Days to Indy format as much. But if you just really want to like learn the personalities, learn the sport, build up to that great American, great motorsport event, triple counter racing event, it's the perfect show.
And I do like it too, because it's like as the season goes on. Well, last year there was that big break after St. Pete, because then it was thermal, and then it was I can't remember what was after. But like the week you're watching the show, the race it's covering was only like 2-3 weeks before. So like it makes like you remember everything from that specific time, because it's also live on CW. That's what I think is great as well, because you can watch it in real time during the season and follow. But yeah, I'm excited for them. What were you gonna say?
I was gonna say about like kind of on the personality thing. I mean, that was, you know, before I started you started watching IndyCar a little bit before I did, Case.
Mm-hmm.
So you knew a couple of the names and everything, and you told me that a race was coming up at the weekend. I turned it on and I was like, I know none of these people. I knew Pato O'Ward because of our conversations about him, and Joseph Newgarden, and that was it.
Mm-hmm.
And it was literally like, I was like, I want to learn about these people. And then you immediately said to me, go watch 100 Days of Indy. It's a perfect like intro course into who these drivers are and everything you need to know about them. And I felt like it was the same thing that happened with Drive to Survive. It was like I latched onto all of their personalities, and I was like, this is great. Like, it's awesome. And I love the fact that it's Pato for hopefully, you know, what is the Super Bowl and everything. I wouldn't be shocked if Fox reruns the Alex Palou and the Joseph Newgarden ones during the Super Bowl.
They did it during the NFC Champ. They're definitely going to be running them in.
So I think it's great, you know, and like I said, I know that the running joke in like the IndyCar follower community is always just like NBC never put any money into like marketing and like, you know, push it out to people. But now that Fox is doing that, it's fantastic. You know, I love to see it. I
even saw some of the clips of interviews from the Indy's media and stuff. The drivers were even pleased with what Fox has been putting out so far. Like
that's a great sign
genuinely enjoying what what's being put out there, the product.
Yeah, Pato talked about it. Joseph talked about it. Like Alex talked about it. Like Pato said, it was like being on a movie shoot. He was like, we were there for like 10 hours, and it was incredible. But they're very excited about what Fox is doing, and they're very excited about the creative minds at Fox, because they're like, look, they know how to market sports. Like they know how to market the NFL. They know how to market Major League Baseball. Like they know how to market motorsport, like they did for years with NASCAR. And so I think there's an excitement from the drivers that like, finally, we're going to get some eyeballs on what we're doing. And I thought, obviously, Colton got asked a ton of questions about Andretti and F1, and I thought it was incredible when he was like, I haven't done the math on what it'll take to get the super license. I don't know where I need to finish in the standings to get the super license. If I don't get it, if F1 doesn't come calling, I guess I'm just stuck driving IndyCar, obviously tongue-in-cheek, because you're a race car driver. You're driving in the Indy. It's pretty darn cool what you get to do. And I think that's this sort of mentality now that, like, we don't have – there's no like big jump to F1 or something like that. IndyCar is a pretty cool thing that we get to do. We get to drive in the Indianapolis 500, and we get to do all this great cool stuff. And now we've got Fox behind it. There's a big marketing push behind it. I think the drivers are genuinely excited and appreciative of what's happening this year.
Yeah, I'm excited. I told Owen last week, I said, when we come, because we'll be in St. Pete, I said, I think when we come home, I need to watch the race on TV. Because like, I just want to see what the coverage is like what's before and after. I will definitely be coming home and watching it again. So it'll be fun to see and get kicked off. Maybe we'll see Will Buxton walking around the paddock.
I'm so excited just to be my first IndyCar event too. Like it's
your first one, my second one.
Yeah, your second one, but just to be back also in a like live motorsport event. Yeah. Because this will be my first IndyCar race and my second live motorsport event ever. So it's like just going back and being in that kind of atmosphere, I'm thrilled. But yeah, I'm pumped for all the coverage and all the stuff that Fox is doing for them. Like I said, it's cool because Fox is taking the success that they saw in Drive to Survive and kind of putting their own spin on it, where it's like, hey, this has already been a thing, but you guys just need to know who these drivers are, and we have some pretty cool people here, in Joseph Newgarden in Colton Herta, in Pato O'Ward, like all these guys. So I'm excited to
No,
see.
they have some good personalities. Like they could have
Yeah.
chose like Scott McLaughlin, hilarious follow on social media. Like
Right.
they're hilarious as him. Will Power, obviously, they included him in Alex Palou's commercial, but they cut out the double birds. They cropped his hands out of that photo.
Of course.
But yeah, I mean there's characters. I do wish the Bottas to IndyCar worked out because that would have been perfect.
Valtteri at IndyCar would have been amazing.
Oh, amazing!
I think his personality would have fit so well there.
Oh, so
imagine him in like
so American. So
I mean, some of the places like Mid Ohio,
Right.
dropping Valtteri into Mid Ohio like in July. That is tremendous.
Like imagine him. What was it? Road America, where the mechanic. What's it called? Not mechanic. The mannequin.
The mannequin dropped.
You got
Imagine
it.
what his radio would have sounded like. That would have been amazing.
But I just had the Scott McLaughlin get the picture with it. But yeah, that'll be. I'm excited. I mean, someone posted. First one was saying like, I wish there was commercials like this for F1, and I said, ESPN, ABC do put out commercials for F1. But it's not like it's nothing compared to these IndyCar ones.
Yeah,
it's just like race highlights.
It's race highlights. It's more about the sport. But I will say the tagline from the ESPN one about every blink is like 200 yards of darkness. Like that sticks with me. I mean, I'll say this. We had the celebration of life for my dad this past weekend, and his old neighbor flew up. He's an airlines pilot for American Airlines. He actually flew up from Dallas to be with us, and he's a huge F1 fan. And so he and I were talking for a long time. He's trying to go to the race in Austin next October, and we talked about that commercial. And he said that, like, look, Drive to Survive got him into the sport. He freely admits that, like, that's why he started watching it. But he's like, that commercial, man, that line, like, I'm a pilot. Like,
it's right.
Like, I fly 787s. I blink. It's like, 100 miles of darkness or whatever the math was. But I'm just, I'm 30,000 feet up. Like, there's nothing around me. Like, I couldn't imagine being a driver and doing that. And so, I think some of their ads are good. But I think they're kind of relied on the Drive to Survive marketing itself, right?
Yeah.
That kind of does it for them.
Definitely the glitz and the glam in the F1 ads compared to
the rock stars of racing, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Like the IndyCar ones, these ones are such good intros to these three drivers. But like I'm interested, like when it's Indy 500 time, they're probably gonna have some sick commercials.
Oh, some of the commercials. Yeah. I wouldn't be shocked, honestly, if there's maybe they'll do this actually. I wonder if there will be the Pato O'Ward commercial and then an Indy 500 commercial for the Super Bowl.
It's so early, Indy 500.
Yeah, but it's the biggest name. It's the biggest racing.
It wouldn't surprise me if they've got like a quick teaser Indy 500 commercial.
Right.
Because
it's the biggest thing in racing, and it's the most watched television event in America. I wouldn't be shocked. But yeah, I do like the ESPN commercials, but it feels like they're more like informational. Like, hey, all these faces that you recognize from Drive to Survive? Well, they're racing this weekend. Whereas like these Fox IndyCar commercials were like, this is about the driver. We want to catch your attention here and be like, who is that? What does he do? Like, what is this about?
I want to learn more.
Yeah. So, but overall, I like it. I like what Fox is doing. Like we said, they're going to be looking for some return on investment in it, but right now they're off to a very, very strong and good start at Fox.
There was a lot of motorsport commercials during the NFC game. I know I was somewhere watching, but there was I think there was Daytona 500 a few times throughout the game.
There was a Daytona one,
like, oh, there's a lot of motorsport in this football game. But yeah, that's what I just want to touch on IndyCar for a quick second. I do like IndyCar so much. It's so intense.
Yeah, I really, really want to watch more of it this year.
Well, it's always perfect, especially during when it's like the F1 summer and the races are in the morning.
Yeah.
IndyCar starts right after. Like last year when it was Monaco, and then the Indy 500 started there's that rain delay. So it started a few hours later, but it should have been like literally back to back.
I mean,
Charles Leclerc winning, Indy 500 start.
Monaco into Indy into the Coca-Cola 600. Like
Yes.
that is as good as it gets in terms
Yeah.
of being a sports fan. If you're a motorsports fan, like that
Should
day
have
is just
done that
who it
again.
is.
That's a beautiful day.
Yeah.
But they switched it. It's not the same. They moved it, I think. Yeah, they moved it. But that was all we want to talk about IndyCar. F1 offseason, we touched about it a little bit. Well, we touched about Lewis crashing today a very little.
Yeah.
It's definitely been a very Ferrari heavy offseason, but we're seeing more and more drivers get back into the factories. We know what Ferrari race suits are going to look like. I do like the merch for Salbert Steak for this upcoming season. I want that bucket hat. That was a very... And seeing those two together as teammates, I kind of forgot. And then that teaser video today dropped with Bortoletto and Nico Hulkenberg, and I was like, oh, I forgot they were teammates for literally 2 seconds.
Saw it too, and I was like, who the hell is that? And then I was like, oh yeah, that's right. And I was like, it's Bortoletto.
Yeah, Bortoletto, who could be Mattia Bonato's like son. I swear they look so much like they have the same kind of hair.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Alpine boys shaving their heads. They better not touch Franco. I would be interested to see what you think about the Alpine situation. I feel like that's been a hot topic.
Yeah.
As much as you can say.
Yeah, this is the tricky part. So it's a success-driven sport. Mm-hmm. It's a meritocracy. You have to earn your spot, and there is genuine excitement that Jack's going to be great. They gave him this seat for a reason. I mean, they had options,
right?
But they believe that was the best choice going forward. But he's got to keep it. He's got to earn that spot.
Because the replacement's right there.
I don't think it's necessarily a situation where, he's got 6 races to prove himself. I don't think it's anything like that. But I do think it's a situation where if we get into deep summer, early fall, and we're talking about a Logan Sargent type run where he's yet to finish in the points, now they've got themselves some options. And I also think that, Franco got off to a great start, had some rough race weekends. Brazil certainly is one of those, whether it has something to do with it. But there's no denying the talent. And Williams realized that, look, we are pretty set right now on our main driver lineup, with Carlos and Alex. And so there's a roadblock here. And so Alpine took advantage of that situation and added a driver to their stable that gives them an option going forward. And also now you've got somebody that's finished in the points. If Jack gets hurt, if Pierre gets hurt, you've got a driver that has shown they could step in on short notice and deliver results. And so, we've all read the stories, we've seen the chatter about how, he's set up to fail and things like that. You get a seat in F1, you have to deliver quickly, or you're going to lose your spot. There's only 20, soon to be 22, but it's a results-driven industry. And look, Oliver said it in Austin even before the Franco stuff. He basically said, look, we need to get results. We need, to get the best out of our drivers and things like that. But I also think that there will be some patience. They also have said that, their eye is kind of on 26. And I think that's the interesting aspect of this season is a lot of teams have already started looking at 26, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
How much development are we really going to see? How much mid-season development are we really going to see? So I think as a result of that, there's going to be some modicum of patience. And if a driver's not performing week in, week out, they're not going to immediately get axed because it's look, the deck reshuffles next year. And maybe we get it right. Maybe we get the aerodynamics right. Maybe we get the physics right. Maybe we get the engine, the power unit right. And we're in the driver's seat. Why are we going to make a change? And so I think that might help Jack get a little bit of patience from Alpine. That's kind of what I would say about that situation. He's got to perform. He certainly has to perform. But I don't think it's the sword of Damocles is just inches away from his head. I think they're going to show some patience with him.
Yeah, it's not like there's Franco or Paul's not standing at the edge of his car, like in their race suits, ready to jump in. Like if they
No,
pull
and
him out,
it's not like Checo at Red Bull where we all know
Yeah.
it's coming. It's not like that at all. I mean, in Austin, I knew. I mean, you could see it. Again, I was sitting literally right next to Christian Horner after that race, but I could tell. Like when he was glowing about Liam getting his elbows out with Fernando Alonso. Anytime you get your elbows out with Fernando Alonso in your first base back, you're doing something right. I knew that in there.
Yeah.
That was his seat next year.
Like, we should have known that.
That's a great
Liam's
quote.
burned
Like
every bridge with going against these veterans. No, Red Bull was like, that's who we want, because that's what Max was probably like when he was in his
That's exactly it.
It makes so much sense.
You know, it's not a situation like that. Like I think Jack's going to get his fair shot to deliver. I think they're going to give him every opportunity to prove himself in that seat, but you do have to perform. And if you're a team, you have to have plans B, C, D, and E. Like you have to be thinking, and this might be a situation where like, well, what if Pierre leaves, you know, at the end of his next contract? Or what if we want to make a move then? It could be Franco and Jack for all we know in a couple of years. From now. And so you've got to give yourself options as a team for this year, next year, and beyond. I mean, not to bring the NFL back into it, but over the life of Tom Brady's time in New England, the Patriots drafted a quarterback every other year. Like they drafted a quarterback every other year because you'd rather be a year ahead of schedule making that decision than a year behind schedule.
Absolutely.
And, you know, if they don't bring Franco aboard and say Jack doesn't pan out and then they're scrambling for a driver trying to like overpay, you know, the driver transfer market or bring somebody along that maybe isn't ready, now you've at least got an option. You've got that plan C, that plan D.
Right. Yeah, it's honestly like I agree with what you're saying. Like it definitely the move itself I think was a little funny just when like you sign Jack, you make this big deal about Jack Doohan's coming in, he's starting, you know, we're giving him the full-time seat, and then maybe a month later you go, well, by the way, we're gonna sign Frank Colapinto as a backup. You know, like it does like make a funny story out of it, but yeah, I agree with what you're saying. It's you need a backup. You need to have your you know. Your
well, it
plan
seems
B,
very reactionary, right?
Yes,
like,
yes, very.
Like sign Jack, give him the full-time seat, have the big rollout over the summer and all of that. You know, the video with Pierre sneaking into the office and everything.
Yeah,
and then. You know, as soon as Franco started to have some success, we heard the stories, right? There was the smoke about, you know, Flavio in the paddock and trying to meet with Franco's people and all of that. Now, part of that is just the nature of this sport,
right?
Like the nature of what generates interest and clicks and gets people to read stories. Like, you know, if I write a story of like breaking down telemetry data, like 10,000 people might read it. If I write a story about Franco maybe signing with a different team, like 30,000 people might read it.
Oh, yeah.
That's just the way people work. That's the way the industry works. But, you know, I think it did seem sort of reactionary. Like you just signed this guy. Now you're going to do this. But I think when you sort of like take a step back and think about building a race team, planning for 26, 27, 28 and beyond, and taking advantage of a strange situation where Franco showed he can deliver on the track, but there's no seat for him at where he currently is.
Yeah.
And he's looking for an opportunity. It kind of made sense that a team would step in and, you know, whether it was Alpine or somebody else, somebody was going to make a move like that, and it was Alpine.
And Alpine has a nice little reserve driver pool right now too. They have a
do.
solid trio.
And should it surprise us that somebody like Oliver Oakes, whose background is sort of in young driver development, is starting to build out a roster? I mean, it makes perfect sense given his background. And he talked a lot about that, you know, with me in Austin about how, look, you know, I've still got a lot of these drivers that I, you know, whether it's F1, F2, F3 that I've known for a while, that I've helped develop along the way. Like, it doesn't surprise me at all that they're starting to fill out the roster and have themselves like a nice talent pool to dip into. And it's also smart business. I mean, what if 2 years down the road, like they flip one of their young drivers and, you know, get something in return, get a fee in return for that. And so, you know, I like the approach. I understand why people might, you know, if you were like our good friend Casper, very excited about seeing Jack get a seat. Now you're like, wait, come on, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Like, I get that.
And love Franco, yeah.
but it's part of the industry. It's part of the business. It's part of running the team.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. Jess, I know it's very early. It is January 29th to be asking us, do you have any early, very, very early
you want to hear them?
I did do the like 9 bold predict. I'm trying to like pull that up. Because I said Sainz was going to find his
you
way to a
did.
podium. I had that one, which I think is kind of spicy.
Which I can
Kind of
see.
spicy.
Yeah, let's see. What else did I have on
We
there?
might see James Val cry.
I said a first-year driver wins a race. I still think that happens.
Mhm.
Liam's probably the easy pick there, but Kimi winning a race would be hilarious. I think
Kimi.
It'd be so good.
Kimi winning. Imagine if it's like Kimi in like Imola or Monza.
no,
Scenes.
because my other prediction is Lewis wins in Monza.
Yeah.
I don't care how
Oh
that
my
happens,
God.
but we're going to get Lewis winning in Monza, and that is going to be a scene. I mean, look, we talked about it. We all cried when he won in Silverstone. Like, if he was in Monza,
I cried this year. We all know because of who won, but I still like just watching a Ferrari driver winning in Monza is just something special about it. There's something about that crowd.
Yeah, I mean, I said, look, we're going to get McLaren and Ferrari down to the wire again. I think we get that again, and I do think.
For the show.
I don't know how we're going to get a multi-way drivers fight to the end. I think.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think so too.
I don't know if it's just Max and Lando or Max, Lando, and the 2 Ferrari guys. Like, I don't know. Does Oscar get himself into that mix as well? But we're going to get, like, as we get into like September, October, into the fall part of the schedule, like there's going to be multiple drivers that have viable pathways to a driver's title. I think we get that too.
I forget who was it. One publication was like making the like eliminated from like constructors, like to win the constructors, and people were like, yeah, of course, we knew they weren't going to win that, but I feel like I do agree. This upcoming season, it's going to definitely be tight.
It's going to be very tight. And I think at a minimum, it's going to be a 4-way battle. And I think it's going to be Max, Lando, Lewis, and Charles. But for drivers. Yeah.
Woo-hoo.
That's what I think it's going to be. Yeah. I would love to see Oscar get up in there. But I think at a minimum, it's going to be those 4 guys fight for it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I agree. Okay. Moving on to our favorite segment, F1 Threads, because we all love F1 Threads.
Yes.
We have some questions. Well, we have a few from this week. We'll be quick. And then we have one last week that we were asked by Tanya, and we really, really enjoyed the question. And as we were answering, I was like, we need to save this for, I said our guest next week. So we're going to ask you that one as well. This is from, username is 30s and Fleur Diaries, if I'm saying that correctly.
Oh, yeah, I know who that is.
Yeah, I would say, yeah. No, I recognize sometimes, like, there's so many people, but some of the usernames I will recognize because they're in there a lot. Asking first question, what got you into sports journalism?
Ooh, I was a bad lawyer. That's the easy answer. I was a bad lawyer. I needed to do something with my time. And honestly, like, it started in the NFL side. It started on the football side. Like, I started playing football when I was 9, played all the way through college. I was talking about there's a center in the NFL draft out of Middlebury College, a school I played against. He could become the first NESCAC player, New England Small College Athletic Conference player drafted since Ethan Brooks in 1996, who sacked me my freshman year at Wesleyan and hit me so hard, I don't think I've recovered yet. Like, Ethan Brooks was listed at 6'5", 305. You two have met me. I am decidedly not 6'5", 305. He played defensive tackle before moving. He was a left tackle for the Ravens and the Cowboys. He hit me head on. Like, it was a play early in the game. It was my freshman year, and I was the backup quarterback, and so I signal into plays. That was my job, right? That was my main job. And so we go 3 and out. Williams scores a touchdown. First down, we hand it off. This is our second drive of the game. Second down, it's a pass. Our starting quarterback, Scott, gets sacked. So it's 3rd and long. And I signal into play, and Scott gets into the huddle. Then he comes out, asks me to do it again, gets into the huddle. And then our 2 wide receivers, this guy, Seth Spector and Craig Bokus, they come out of the huddle screaming for a timeout. And they're like sprinting to the sidelines. They look horrified. It's like a scene out of a horror movie. And they're like, Scott can only see yellow. Scott's in the huddle right now, and he says all he can see is yellow. And so I still remember, I'm sitting there, guys. our head coach, Frank Hauser, our offensive coordinator, Craig Balls, they turned to me and they're like, Schofield, grab your helmet. You're in.
Get in there. Get in there.
This is great. And let's go back to August. This is a very long story, I know.
I love it though.
When you get to college for Division III, like non-scholarship, like athlete, like you don't get like the Nike like form fitted everything, right?
Oh yeah.
I get the last helmet available, and it was like really tight, and that front pad kept like rubbing on my head every day. And I'm like 7th on the depth chart. I'm like, it doesn't matter. So I take the pad out and I like try to get a plastic knife from the dorm dining hall to like saw it in half, and it didn't work. So I just left it out. I'm like, I don't need it. I'm not going to play. Well, fast forward back to homecoming. I'm now going in against the guy that the NFL scouts are literally in the stands to see play. And we call a pass play. And we called a play where I fake a handoff. We pull a guard in front of me just to block Ethan Brooks as a second guy to block him, right?
It's a second wall.
Yeah, a second wall just to block this one guy, right? Ball snapped. I do the little reverse pivot. I feel something hit my foot as I'm like pivoting around to carry out the fake and everything. And as I come out and start running, I see that guy that's supposed to come as that second wall doing one of these, right? He tripped over my foot. So he face plants, and then I hear our right tackle, who's supposed to be blocking Ethan Brooks, do one of these. Oh my God, because he just got beaten. Like Brooks like swum over him, right? So as I come out and start to look downfield, I see one guy fall and the other guy going to do a face plant, and I see nothing but a purple 7-7 in front of me. So I do what comes naturally, right? I grab both points of the football, I put my head down and try to run him over. I swear to God, I heard him laughing. I heard him laughing as he hit me. We get to the sidelines, punt team comes on. Our fullback captain grabs me by the face mask. He's like, don't you ever bleeping do that again. Like, yeah, that guy went on to play in the NFL. So, yeah, that's my Ethan Brooks claim to fame.
That's so...
I respect it. I respect the attempt.
So, having that kind of background, as you can tell, I like talking and writing about sports. I can tell a good story. And I started writing about it, and what got me into the F1 side of it was I just saw, like we all have seen, sort of that opportunity to start getting into this. There's a market for it. There's an interest in it. And I've been lucky to, start writing stories. And then before you know it, as you can see over there, I get to talk to Lewis Hamilton. I get to talk to Oscar Piastri and Lando Norris and, Valtteri Bottas and Logan Sarge and Pierre Gasly. It's been an incredible, incredible ride. I am damn lucky. I would always credit you guys because before anybody knew who I was, you guys had me on the show. And so
and vice versa, before anyone knew who we were.
Really.
I mean, it's been a mutual thing, but I'm so lucky that you guys reached out that day. And, I always love coming on, and I'm loving the success you guys are having. But yeah, that's my long-winded answer to that question.
I love it. That was a good one.
That's great. Yeah, that's an awesome story too.
Yeah, I like telling that story. Although
that's a good.
I tend to leave the pad part out when I tell it around family members, because I don't want my mom freaking out like, "Oh my God, is his brain damaged?" Like, probably. I mean,
maybe a little bit.
Maybe a little bit.
It's all right.
But
did I have a concussion after? Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I mean, I remember one concussion I had in high school. They asked me who the president was, and I said George Clinton.
Very good.
Parliament Funkadelic. I think I probably just watched PCU. So
I like it. Funny. Okay, next question. Same group of questions. What is the most difficult part about it?
There's a couple of things. I'll go big picture, then small picture F1 related. Big picture is you never feel like you've done enough. And social media is a blessing and a curse in many ways. Like I will get done writing the story, like the quick and easy ones, like Kimi getting his license, whatever. That's no big deal. But like, say I spend hours like getting ready for then interview and then putting together like a Pierre Gasly piece, like the one in Austin, or after Oscar, like he finishes second. 5 minutes later, McLaren reached out. They're like, "Hey, do you want to talk to Oscar?" And they're like, "Yeah, this is awesome, incredible." Like you get done doing something like that, and then you log on, you see walls of content that other people are creating. You always feel like
Yeah.
you're on that hamster wheel, right?
Yeah.
Where it's like, I can't keep up. And you always feel like if I can't keep up, I'm going to lose my job. I'm going to not get to do this anymore. And so that's like the big picture hardest thing. Then the small picture hardest thing, and I know you guys have felt this, covering a sport that's centered in Europe is
I was
difficult,
just about to say.
right? Like today, I wake up and it's like 3 hours ago, Lewis spun into the gravel and crashed. Like, oh my God. Like, I might need to brush my teeth first, but I guess I got to start working. Like, you know, and that's hard. It's hard when like a little bit of inside baseball. I knew the Jack announcement was coming. Like they had told me, they're like, this is when it's going to come.
Right.
It's 3 a.m. Like,
yeah, right.
And I don't want to like just blindly schedule the story. And then suddenly I wake up and like everybody's mad at me because Jack gets sick. So they paused it. And I'm like, oh my God, I just burned so many bridges. So what did I do? I set an alarm for 2:30 in the morning and woke up just to make sure. I saw them push it. I pushed my thing live, sent out the thread tweet, sent out the tweet, go to bed, and then toss and turn for 2 hours. Because I'm like, are people reading the story? Like, that's a hard part of it.
Yeah, that's my biggest pet peeve.
Yeah, and I don't know how to deal with it. And I think the best way I've found is to like, you know, try to put my own sort of spin on things. Like understand that like, yeah, you're going to be 3 hours late to a lot of stuff, but try to find a value add some different way. Like, you know, like with the Lewis thing, like compare it to quarterbacks. Like they throw interceptions in training camp, drivers crash in preseason training. Like it's okay. But yeah, that's the hardest thing I think for me, at least on the F1 side of things, you know, beyond the like feeling like you know, I log on and I see great things you guys are doing, or great things other creators are doing, or great stories like Luke Smith is writing. And it's like, I can't compete, you know? You know, so that's the big picture down to the small picture.
Yeah, it's the comparison that gets me all the time, definitely.
Yeah, and then it feeds into the imposter syndrome. And,
Oh, yeah.
You know, and it's funny, like, spent some time with Elizabeth Blackstock in Texas. You know, her and I got to chat with Lewis after.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, that's the thing with me, like the inadequacy, like the feelings of, you know, but then taking a step back and realizing I'm pretty darn good at what I do. Like, you know, you've got to have that ability to take a step back, catch your breath, and realize that, look, if you've gotten to this point where people are reading you, people are listening to you, people are watching you, you're good at what you do. So remember that. Don't fall into that vicious cycle of imposter syndrome, feeling of inadequacy. Like, if you're still doing this, you're good at it.
Yeah, that's perfect. I know I literally posted last week and I was like, I just have to understand that there's going to be stuff that breaks before I'm awake, and I can sleep and miss it, because if I get up, I can post it. And someone literally said that, like, putting your own spin on it to get that new audience. But then again, like, there is all the American audience that is also going to be waking up to this news, and they're going to be coming to maybe the American creators that they know or journalists that they know. So, yeah, that one hit. Yeah, I get that a lot. I understand that fully.
Constantly when people ask me like questions about rules or anything that happens to be about F1, and I'll like tell them, I'm always in my own head as I'm telling them, like, now you don't know this, like, this isn't what it actually is. And then like I same thing, have to like stop and like pull myself back and be like, no, I've looked this up, I've read this before, I know this information. Like, it's definitely.
And I think in a way,
huge.
It's not to get this into an America versus the world kind of thing, but it's like, you know, you get that sort of tagline of, oh, you're a Drive to Survive fan, like you're not a real fan. Like there's that level to it as well. And like, I'll admit, like Drive to Survive like helped, but I was an F1 fan before a Drive to Survive fan. Now, if you came to F1 through Drive to Survive, it doesn't matter. Like I'm very much anti the idea of gatekeeping, because I wouldn't be here, you know, if gatekeeping were an actual thing. And so, you know, I think that's an aspect to it as well. But if you're a content creator in this space, like know that you're not alone, and that if you're still doing it, like after a couple of weeks, couple of months, couple of years, like you're good at it. Like if you feel yourself going down that road of I'm not good enough, I'm not smart enough, nobody likes what I'm doing, stop, look back at what you've created, look back at the good stuff you've gotten to do, think about the stuff you can't wait to do, and keep on going.
Yeah, no, that's perfect. perfect little. I'm gonna clip that and play it during the
good.
season when I'm like mid-season slump. You're like,
Yeah, when it's like right before the summer break, and you're like, oh my God, what am I doing? Yeah.
What is happening?
Yeah. What day is it?
Yeah. 2 more questions, though. This one and then the one from Tanya. Do you have any favorite moments or like memories in F1? Like your self-proclaimed good luck charm to Pierre.
Yeah, I mean, look,
that's a good one.
I'm not saying. I'm just saying. Like they took off like a rocket ship after we sat down. Now, again, there's stuff we talked about that was off the record. So I mean, maybe I mean, the first chat with Lando, like the first one-on-one, like that was. I was telling the story the other day, like. I literally paced my bedroom for an hour straight before that interview began. Like I was like, I listened to the F1 theme on a loop for that entire hour to like keep from freaking out. Like, and he was great to talk to, and heard after the fact from McLaren's people and from Zach later that he loved talking to me. Oscar said it too. So like they were like, yeah, we couldn't wait to talk to you. Lando wouldn't shut up about it. Like that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So that was cool. Pierre, like his, sort of PR person, like I was talking to him the day after and he was like, yeah, he loved it. Like he was raving about it, like driving back to our next event. Like he was like, I love talking to him. I love talking to the American writers. They do their homework. Like they really like are interested in our answers. So like those 2 moments certainly stick out. Miami, just because that was like my first race. Yeah. My first F1 credentialed race.
Mm-hmm.
Getting to do the swipe thing through the turnstile, and like
that's gotta be such a cool feeling.
I tried to video it so many times, I couldn't get it quite right, and I was always like, "Am I allowed to do this?" And then you see all the other people, like the influencers and stuff, like go on like doing it fully, and nobody cares. So I'll get a better shot next time. But doing the swipe thing's pretty cool. Like you see it so many times, and so getting to do that. And then like I'll say, and I know you guys felt hearing the power units for the first time in person. Like, there's something to that. And obviously I was able to like get down on pit lane, and I'll never forget walking through the garage stalls to pit lane itself.
Mm-hmm.
And I walked out there and took that turn, and then the F1 Academy cars were coming back in after F1 Academy practice. And I was like, whoa. Yeah. Okay, this is cool.
This is real.
This is happening.
Seeing your first pit stall practice like inches away from it, like that's it's funny when that media day happened in Miami. Daniel talked about how Monaco is one of those moments as a driver where you're like, this is really cool what I get to do.
Yeah,
mm-hmm.
Monaco quali day, Monaco the entire race week and the entire event. It's like, this is really cool what I get to do. I felt like that the entire time down in Miami. I felt like, wow. This is really cool what I get to do and what I'm lucky enough to do. And, if Austin in this past October is the last time I ever get to go to an F1 race, probably not. But if it was still pretty cool that I got to do it twice.
Yep.
Yeah, that's cool. It's a good one. Miami has a special place in all our hearts.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it does.
Always will.
And that's where the I emojis text, that was where it was born.
That's where it was born.
It was. What was the final count at the end of the season? Do we know?
He was 3 for 3.
Yeah.
He was.
Yeah, 3 for 3 at the end of the season. No, I remember getting off of the bus, the shuttle.
Yeah, when we
Miami.
walked over that. We were walking
and
in.
hearing we were a little late. We were running a little late to practice, and
it was 2 seconds for missing the red flag.
Hearing the cars going for the first time, just like something in me, I was just like, I cannot believe that that we're here.
And I remember, and we talked about this. We were like, it took some time to get used to it. Particularly, I know where we ended up watching things, right? With that off the straight into that tight turn.
Yeah.
And seeing the concorsia effect and seeing those cars come so close to each other. Like the first couple of times I saw that, I had to like look away. It was unsettling.
Hey, you were like,
yeah, it was like, oh, I know, like we know these people, and eventually you get used to it. But yeah, it was like an emotional response to it.
Yeah.
It took a while to acclimate to.
Even when we were pulling up on the Yeah, because we took the shuttle in that day. Even when we were pulling on the shuttle and we just see like the Hard Rock and everything set up for the whole weekend. Owen turned to me and he's like, I'm kind of happy it's just us two coming this first day. Because like we could have been as like freaked out, like fanning out as much as we could. Yeah, we can't wait to go back this year. So I'm excited for Owen to experience IndyCar and how close he can get to that stuff. Even as a fan, it's insane. Next question. This is the one from Tanya. This is one we really, really liked from last week. She asks, what's the one storyline that will surprise us all next season in F1? What did I say? I think I said, I don't remember what I said.
I think I said a rookie winning the race, actually. I think is what I talked about. And it being either Kimi or Liam, I think I said. I can't, but...
Yeah, I think rookie winning is something that I do think we see. See, I don't think that multi-way fights for the constructors and drivers will really surprise us. So I don't know if that's the best answer.
After this past season.
Yeah, I think what might really surprise us is just how much teams are looking ahead to 26. I think. And Oliver talked about it, in Austin in October. He's like, look, 26 is the big thing. That's what so many teams are looking at and we heard it from Adrian Newey, just either it was early this week or last week. There's a window where if you get it all right, you could run the table in 26 and maybe 27 before teams catch up. And that's an opportunity that not just the teams at the top like Red Bull, like Mercedes, McLaren, Ferrari are looking at, like Alpine, Aston. I mean, we know what Adrian Newey is doing the second he walks to that board in his office. It's not anything to do with mid-season development.
Nope.
No, it is the 26 car. Like that, and you have to think that Lawrence Stroll is thinking we could be world champions in 26. And so I think that will be the surprising aspect of the season. Like we always talk so much about, every media week talks about what upgrades do you have this week? What new parts do you? Nothing. Everything's next year. Like everything's next year. Like by the time we get to the summer, all of that's going to be done. Like there's going to be no upgrades or development or anything like that. Like maybe minor things. It's all going to be done with an eye to 26. And so I think that's going to be a part of the season that's kind of the great unknown, and why, as much as I sit here right now and expect this multi-way fight, it might just be McLaren again that kind of runs away with it because their car was so good last year. Literally
it would have to change.
Best car, at the Autosport Awards, just in the past couple of hours. Other teams might say, look, you know what? We're going to start thinking about 26. And maybe it isn't as exciting as we expect because it's going to be McLaren again. Now, ultimately, I think teams will at least do enough over this offseason and into next year where we're going to get that multi-team fight, multi-driver fight. But I do think that is going to be a surprising aspect of the season, that so many teams are looking at 26 as a chance to get ahead of everybody else. Like if you're Haas, you're thinking, man, if we could get the physics right and Ferrari gets the power units right, like we could suddenly be the next McLaren and we're at the front of the field. And so I think that's going to be an aspect to the season that we don't know. But when we get down to November, December, we're like, oh yeah, everybody was really looking to 26, and now we can see why.
Yeah.
Haas gets it together with Ollie behind the wheel. Could be dangerous.
Yeah.
I
do wonder about Esteban and Ollie. I guess we'll see how that plays out, but it's one of the more interesting driver pairings.
Yeah, definitely.
And Ollie's so tall.
So tall. There's that picture of Esteban Ocon at the NBA
they're both
games.
Very tall.
Very tall.
Yeah.
But Esteban looked short when he was at the NBA games in France this past week because he was next to Victor. However, what's his last name? The Spurs.
Yeah.
He looked short. Like he looked.
Everybody looked short next to Wemby. I mean, no, but like when Alpine had a couple of the Spurs in their paddock in Austin, like Esteban was like, okay, like he'd be a guard, like he's an undersized guy, but he could stack up a little bit. But those are two tall drivers, man.
Two very tall drivers.
Very tall.
That's a tall driver. And then you have Yuki and Isaac Hadjar,
who are not tall drivers.
No, not at all.
How tall is Isaac? Did I ask this last week too?
Yeah, we asked that a while ago.
How tall is?
Should make it a whole episode. How tall there? He's 167 centimeters, so it's 5 feet 4 inches. That's so short.
He's 5'4".
And I think that's what Yuki is too.
How tall's Ange?
Yuki's 5'3".
4'11 3/4.
That's how tall Ange is.
That's how tall Ange is. 4'11 3/4. She actually, I'm very happy you asked me this because she just came home like 2 weeks ago from a doctor's appointment. Was like, I'm 4'11 3/4. I said, did the doctor have to include the 3/4? She said, yes. I said, cool.
Yeah.
Now I'm going to include it every time I tell somebody your height.
That's like when I was younger and I thought being like 5'7.5" was cool. Now I'm like, I'm just 5'7".
Yeah, just 5'7".
Just 5'7". Those were questions. I did look back. My storyline, I said, I think Esteban will surprise us. That was mine. Went on a limb. Because I said, I think it's kind of like when Pierre left the Red Bull family. He's finally out of that French racing team.
Yeah.
It's a new environment. AO is great. So I think we could maybe see a change. But yeah, him and Ollie will be a interesting pair.
Should be a fun pair.
Yeah, but that was all of our questions we had. Some good ones. Yeah, that one, we got that one last week. And Tanya's the Eagles fan, so we got to include it.
Yeah,
Of course.
We're gonna get that in there.
Of course.
Got to include it. But yes, so do you have anything else you would like to add, either one of you?
I'm good.
I'm good.
All
I could
right.
tell another Ethan Brooks story. I mean, no, but
Is
my
there another
school
one
was
where you
starting to
get
throb out of
followed?
nowhere, so maybe. Goodness
He's
gracious.
he's hearing his he's at home somewhere. His ears are ringing. He's
His
like,
ears
I
are
think someone's
going, yeah.
talking
Very
about
funny.
me.
Some reporter from Washington, D.C. is talking about me.
That guy's traded on my name again. He's been doing this for 20 years now.
Milking this for
There's
so
actually-
long.
I do have a photo of that game, and it's really funny because it's me like under center, and he's like in his 3-point stance, and he's like taller than me.
Oh,
Like, that's how
boy.
big he
Oh
is.
my
Yeah.
God.
Like that one, what was it, forever ago? It was Jordan Mailata next to Devontae Smith, and Devontae Smith looks like a string bean compared to Jordan
Yes.
Mailata. Like his
That is-
rookie year, I can picture
That is a
in my
very,
mind.
very skinny human being, but very good
Yeah,
at what he
very
does.
Very
Yeah.
good at what he does.
And there's a guy, Tez Johnson from Oregon. He's at the Senior Bowl right now. He weighs 156.
Oh,
56?
Yeah. Well,
My
it's like
God.
Tank Dell. Like, this is another funny story. So I was in the combine. I guess it was the start of the 23 season. And I was flying back from Indianapolis to DC, and Tank Dell was on my flight, receiver for the Texans now.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting there. It was the Sunday of the Bahrain Grand Prix in 23 to start the season. So I'm I'm at the gate, like watching it on my laptop, but Tank Dell is sitting 2 seats over. I'm looking at him, I'm looking at me, I'm looking at him, looking at me. And I like sent a message in Slack to my coworkers, like, Tank Dell is smaller than me. Like, you cannot draft an NFL player that is smaller than me.
It's
And again,
physically
you guys have
smaller
met
than
me. Like, I'm not a big human being, like, definitely not. And Tank Dell is smaller than me. Yeah.
you like send it to the scouts. I'm telling them right now.
Yeah.
He's
But then
smaller
no,
than
this
me.
test 156. Like, yes, he can move, he's fast, but when you're an NFL player, like 156, unless you're a kicker, like
Yeah,
That's
he's
a
gonna
little
get
dicey.
literally
He's a wide
touched and,
receiver.
like,
yeah.
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 he's gonna get nailed by like whoever on the other team's defense. And
Yeah. I mean,
Be
Reed
injured.
Blankenship.
Push him out of bounds
Yeah.
or something.
Cooper,
like that.
yeah.
Like,
Yeah. I don't know about that.
but
Alrighty.
alrighty, I will close us out. Thank you for joining us for episode 94.
Thank you,
like Owen
friends.
Said, we'll be back next week. I don't know what we're going to talk about. There's weekly news. This off season before the season starts can't come soon enough.
Yeah.
Maybe we can start doing some predictions for IndyCar and stuff, since that starts before F1.
Oh, that's
but
good.
we'll figure it out.
Yeah.
We'll figure it out. As always, please go give us a follow over on our socials at on Instagram and Threads at _circuit. I always want to say the old name. And over on Twitter at UG Circuit Pod. Please go follow Mr. Mark
That's the one.
Schofield on all the outlets. You can find him everywhere. His articles on SB Nation. Like, comment, subscribe wherever you listen to your podcast. And we will see you all next week. Thank you.